starting out our new podcast, which is Casting Code, and this is the first episode of it. Today we have Rahul Ahire. Welcome to the episode, Rahul. Okay, so before introducing you, मैं बताना चाहता हूँ how I got to know about you. Okay, so लास्ट ईयर क्या हुआ, तो मैंने फ्रंट एंड कर लिया था. मैं वेब डेवलपमेंट सीख रहा था और मैंने बैक एंड में भी बहुत सारा काम किया. तो मैं मर्न स्टैक पे ही मैंने सब कुछ किया है काम. तो मुझे तब अपना जो प्रोजेक्ट है जो मेरा लॉन्च होने वाला है, इस साल मैं लॉन्च करूँगा, तो उसके लिए मुझे ऑथराइजेशन ऑथेंटिकेशन करना था, है ना. सो आई वॉज लुकिंग फॉर द वीडियोज़ रिलेटेड टू JWT, है ना. एंड दैट इज़ हाउ आई गॉट टू नो अबाउट योर चैनल. और मुझे वो वीडियो इसलिए अच्छा लगा क्योंकि बहुत ज़्यादा क्लियर था, बहुत ज़्यादा कामनेस थी उस वीडियो में कि हाँ यार समझ में आ रहा है, बहुत चीज़ें नहीं एक बार में दी जा रही है कि दिमाग ख़राब हो जाए, है ना.
आई थिंक मैंने वो वीडियो इसलिए डाला था क्योंकि मैंने भी एक्सपीरियंस किया है फ्रस्ट्रेशन. लाइक मोस्ट ऑफ माय पॉपुलर वीडियोस लाइक HTTP और कुकी एंड ऑल ऑफ दैट. सो क्योंकि उसके ऊपर कोई टॉपिक किसी ने बनाया नहीं, और लाइक अभी जो भी है वो लाइक वो सरफेस लेवल पे theoretical stuff they don't talk about applications. So I mean, yeah, good to know that it's been working out. Yeah.
हाँ, तो that is how I got to know. So start करते हैं. About tell something about yourself, what you are doing right now.
So start in the sense like from childhood to like what it is right now, because it's an entire spectrum.
All of that.
So okay, from childhood itself, like I've been just watching all the cartoons, just like any other kid would really randomly do. तो मेरे नाना जी के घर पे जब like I was like 8 or 9 year old, so I just happened to watch like Animal Planet and Discovery, so the Discovery Channel, and that just like caught my attention. It's like, yeah, this is it. It's like this is all the channel. So I started watching it. So, and particularly like I really like the shows like Cosmos, Neil deGrasse Tyson, because editing and all of the stuff is just top notch. So like the Into the Wormhole by Morgan Freeman and all of the shows. Basically, I love the space and journeys and all of this stuff. So eventually, growing up like 5th, 6th standard, I thought like, chalo ab space mein kuch karte hain.
Yeah.
So I think about going into 8th, 9th standard, like I had this option like kya karna hai, like just because hamare jab abhi right now I'm in Pune. I was like shifted in like 2016. But pehle 16 saal I was like in outskirts of the Pune. It's like it's called Shirur. It's the same तालुका district, पर हमारे यहाँ पे इंटरनेट एक्सेस तब नहीं था. ब्रॉडबैंड नाम पे कुछ चीज होता नहीं था. ये वो DSL था, वो भी उसका प्राइस भी बहुत ज्यादा था. So yeah, but we don't have any internet connection basically. So the limited option that I had, like all of this watching these shows was like NASA, इसरो मुझे पता भी नहीं था क्या था. इस लाइक मेरे जान पहचान वालों ने बताया तुम्हें पता है इसरो क्या है. It's like I thought no, because it's like but when because exposure नहीं था, like TV में इतना marketing नहीं इसरो का. But I think they're genuinely doing really good. But I think marketing का थोड़ा level बढ़ाना चाहिए. That's what I personally feel. Apart from like what they are doing in perspective of like very low budget, it's just impressive. Like but yeah, coming back to the point, like at this point, like astronaut, it's like everyone is now really like everyone is like now vlogger जैसे personality vlogger जैसे famous होते हैं and all of that stuff. So that's one option. But it's like researcher and all of that stuff. So मेरे 10th के बाद like just like everyone, I thought like hey, you want to go to aerospace, IIT is the best, and aerospace engineering like from Kharagpur, Kanpur, and like IIT Bombay, that was the best. So I thought let's enroll in IIT JEE classes. 2 साल किया, कुछ नहीं हुआ. और उस 12 like 12th होने के बाद वो 6 महीने में पूरा वैक्यूम था. Like what can we do, because here's what we thought, here's what we have dreamt about, and all of this like is crumbled like house of cards. So right now like this is the period like I was watching all of the TED Talks and all of the stuff, trying to know what it is, and it's like धीरे धीरे करके थोड़ा बहुत पता चला कि यार ये भी है, ये भी हम कर सकते. It's like the perspective, like तुम पहले पूरा इग्नोरेंट थे. तो like ये भी है, ये राइटर है, ये भी $1 million कमा रहा है, ये भी दूसरा है, ये भी पैसा कमा रहा है, ये भी like this is the fame, this is the innovation that is doing. So that was the like So the Jio के आने के बाद जब मैं देखना चालू किया, that was like mind shift for me. So and also like during the point of time like in 2017, I got to know about this person Elon Musk. So yeah, तो मुझे it's like the first introduction about the YouTube ने random recommendation दिया था I think. So about the Tesla car, like that was a old roadster, and like the second video that I watched was about like spaces. So I got to know about Elon Musk. एंड मुझे पता चला कि यार ये इंसान बिना नासा के बिना किसी जान पहचान के अपने खुद के रॉकेट उड़ा रहा है. सो दैट वाज वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट इंट्रोडक्शन फॉर मी लाइक अबाउट कैपिटलिज्म. So what the capitalism actually means, like and that just changed my mindset that hey, you don't need to rely upon like ISRO and NASA. You can create your own money using the capital things. So that was one of the key things. So and going forward, like I started to like learn about coding and all of this stuff. So I had this like मैंने 2018 में just like social network movie देखी थी. It's like yeah.
Same.
So I thought like I thought like let's try to build this social network app, like so वो बना नहीं, पर वो अभी उस बनाने के चक्कर में like I learned a lot of things like JavaScript full stack, serverless and all of this stuff. So in 2020 and the end of 2021, it's like sorry 2020 or 2021 के period में again came back to the notion about that my childhood curiosity and all of this stuff. So बीच में I had this lot of idea कि हम ये startup करेंगे, हम वो करेंगे, but deep within even I know that I don't connect with that ideas. Like let's say हम face match को which advanced dating app बनाएंगे और all of this stuff like. But I know that I fundamentally don't like the concept of dating apps. It's like I'm not against of it. I'm nothing. It's like but I just don't connect with the concept of it. Like I still feel that you should go out and try it out. It's like do your best possible thing. So but again coming back to the point, like this is the video like Linus Tech Tips will post like hey, how come a YouTube channel is like have like 50-60 employees. So it's just a one YouTube channel, Linus Tech Tips. So yeah, he's earning like millions of dollars. Like he has made it. Like he has really kind of one of the first to pioneer the sponsorship game itself. From like if you watch his old videos, like from 2013 to 14, he has been regularly had his sponsorship in all of his videos, which is like insane. Like if you consider like because brand deals and all of this stuff, we are just hearing this from past 2 or 3 years, and he's been doing from 2013-14. And so and I was watching like Veritasium and all of these creators who are really making science documentaries and all this stuff. So something really clicked inside me like hey, I'm doing this YouTube thing, or which I'm really doing right now. I have this like to have this a lot of questions regarding space and all of this stuff together. So why don't we bring this together, like just try to build something right there. So right now the focus, so so I've also really written a blog about it. So right now the focus is to just kind of create a like site which could really take you from absolute beginner to like absolute pro itself. So to give you a perspective about what that exactly means. So अगर आपके पास if you want to learn something about black holes, you want to learn something about like how rapidly the space is growing, why is it, what's the math behind it, on YouTube आपको सिर्फ surface level video मिलेगा. It's great for entertainment value, it's great for like satisfying your curiosity, but it doesn't have any real substance. It's like अगर आपको substance चाहिए तो आपको research paper जाना पड़ेगा. The problem is research paper उनके लिए बना है जिनको already आता है. It's like yeah, those players who are already in the field from like last 10-15 years. So how can we really bridge that gap together? So अभी फिलहाल तो मैं अकेला हूँ. So the idea is right now to tell the compelling stories. So it's like what is the compelling story right now? So again the fact is I have just 2 stories right now. So like अभी अगर आप कोई डॉक्टर या फिर कोई भी distributed system में अगर आप देखोगे, communicating with each of them system is very like difficult thing. Like you have to manage the time, you have to like rebalancing the time. So the communication is done between Paxos algorithm. So that was really developed by like Leslie Lamport, a researcher in Microsoft. So that uses the time synchronization, which is derived from Einstein's relativity. So again the second example is like after the World War, only Britain and US were only these were the two countries who knew how to like light bulbs. And German be like हमें भी light bulb बनाना है. It's like and during the research about really like they just don't want to make light bulb, they want to make light bulb which is better than what these two countries. So तो उन्होंने क्या किया जो they started to dissect each other कि like light bulb कैसे बनता है क्या बनता है. And during the process of making light bulb they discovered black body radiation. And the black body radiation is what the precursor of quantum physics, and that's the chain which is falling right now. So there are many more stories. So right now what I'm focusing on is how to focus on the generational passage of knowledge. Okay. Tell the stories, get the audience, get the financial base, start making some like education, like in-depth content for those who are really enthusiastic. In turn that will get more money, and then create a tech stack on top of it, like create tools, developing solutions to add more open source culture. Abhi problem kya hai ki if you are really interested in these things, right, physics and all of this stuff, जो लोग physics में जाते हैं वो वही जाते हैं जो they are really passionate about it. अब आप और हम जैसे लोगों को क्या एक पेट पालना है, ये सब करना है, and they I think the most people are really just kind of really वही concern रहता है कि like it's ये करेंगे तो पैसे कैसे कमाएंगे, it's like all of that stuff, and the entry barrier is very very high. So it's like, and the open source culture अभी कैसा है कि it's like किसी ने यहाँ बैठे के कंपाइलर पहले से लिखा है, हम सिर्फ abstraction level पे काम करते हैं. So can we create that abstraction level at every layer? So it's like, so I like JavaScript, like I've just written Express, but now I'm really interested in networking. Okay, here's what is the networking module, here's what you can go, and here's what you can do. And then really like this is the application layer. If you want to go below that, there's also like open source like HTTP कैसे लिखा है, क्या लिखा है. So you can go. There's no limit like how deep can you go. There's like systematic step-by-step process. So abhi kya hai ki it's like you have to learn complete physics, which is like entirety and it's all of the stuff, and you have to like go through it. So there's a like huge barrier. So the focus is like how can we build the steps together. So abhi education is the first base pillar, first three pillar, and on top of it like we want to add our own tools.
Okay, so I have a question. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, sure.
So I have a question कि आप एक वेबसाइट बनाना चाह रहे हो, ठीक है? एंड आप नॉलेज को एक इंस्टीट्यूट से नहीं वो इनकैप्सुलेट करना चाह रहे हो, एक डिग्री से इनकैप्सुलेट नहीं करना चाह रहे हो.
It's basically like you have an interest and you want to know more, and here's what we do. If you connect, like that's how we can get it.
Okay, so just tell me in a nutshell, how is it going to help someone who also wants to earn something out of that learning?
Okay, so the first initial stage is we can't ever provide any job guarantee about it, because the nature of research itself is very what I would say, I think it's not very capitalist in nature. Like you have to kind of pour money into it without the guarantee about something written in it. So I think oftentimes the research is something which is done in like behind the scenes, like you are doing it like for 10-15 years itself, and then like when the miracle happens or something clicked and then you get a result. So that is very like time and capital intensive process. So we are not really focusing on that. What we are focusing right now is on the educational aspect of it. So if you are really interested in black holes, so right now the concept is, if you want to learn more about black holes, from complete beginner to up to the PhD level stuff, that is what we have to give you. That is what we want to give you.
Okay.
And on top of it, let's say if there is data which is available by NASA or any other stuff, we'll help you provide that, and we'll tell you how to do the computation analysis on top of it. It's like MLA, it's like there are a lot of data scientists who would love to do all sort of.
So you want to structure the learning for whoever wants to learn something new. Okay, so someone wants to do the research, so you're just providing all the content right there on your website or the product, whatever you were creating.
Sure.
Right.
That's the first step, and the second step is creating tools. And all developing all sort of ecosystem and all around all of it together.
So by that knowledge, they can create their own company as well. Like Elon Musk have created something
Yeah.
by their by
So I think SpaceX is only the one thing that they are doing, right?
right
Yeah.
SpaceX.
So I think, you have raised a very good point about there are certain aspects about aeronautical industry which are like forbidden. You can't speak openly about it. One is like rockets because it kind of really falls into the category of weapon. If you just do it publicly, like government will just kind of spot you. At least that's the case in US. They have really tried to like warn many people like, hey, don't talk about this to a lot of people. Like it's dangerous.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. So the next
So
question is
what's like in a like legal
you
guide?
go on.
That's exactly what. Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm.
Yeah. It's amazing because are there any other websites who are doing the same thing that you are trying to do?
There are various websites like in journalism, like research and all of that.
Okay.
But those people are really focused on like hyper targeted segment, like very small people, like especially those who are already doing that. Like there's a website in this YouTube channel called Quanta Magazine and all of that stuff, which they are doing very good job. They have their own research stuff. But again, there's a point of like how can we take that concept and to like distribute it to mass without losing the essence. That is, I think very few people are doing it right now.
Okay, so will it be only restricted to research in physics and coding, or will it be to every
Okay,
field?
right now, I think that's exactly point. So I think if you have seen like my demo on like NASA's Black Marble, so the name of that I've thought about is like experiential. I've got a lot of names like, and that's right now in like trademark approval process. I hope you don't give any objections and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think I've got a lot of things like space edge, warp edge, like black hole media and all this stuff. But the idea was like I don't want to restrict myself to just only the space thing itself. But because the nature of space is such a diverse, right? If you take one topic, you can easily branch out to 100 other, even in chemistry, biology, even psychology as per the same. So the main focus right now is on to like space, like physics, astrophysics, and computer science. These are three pillars. And if we get some time other than that, so we like to create we'll also go to topic which are linked to it, but it's directly not. So let's say philosophy is the one aspect. Like is there space? Is there another thing? It has no direct connection to the astrophysics, but if you really see this connecting branch, or like just this the base core minimum, if you just go like 2 or 3 above, then you can start to make sense about it. So that is something like we are going far-fetched.
Okay, so
not right now. It's not focus.
Yeah. So the thing that I want to ask is, have you met someone who really want that product, like who is in need of that product? Apart from you, I
think apart from that's a very good question. I guess the real answer is absolutely not.
Right.
But I think if we really count on online, because what I want to do is that can't be scaled offline, right? Because even if you go, it's like you'll find hardly 1 or 2 people out there in the like universities and campus who might even thought about. It's like think about doing all of that because there's no job opportunities as I basically mentioned. But if you watch like all of these YouTube videos like Veritashim and all of the stuff, first of all, the production value is insane. Like, that's the reason why they are really what they're doing right now, the popularity, the views, and all this stuff. So let's see, even if you match all of this stuff, like, and now we have like 1 million views per every videos. And what I'm really expecting is like at best 1% conversion. हमें ज़्यादा चाहिए नहीं. हमें सिर्फ 1% चाहिए. So we can earn a lot of money even that 1%. That's the core focus right there. So I think मुझे clearly पता है कि people who are watching the base level like stuff on the like let's say just storytelling and all of this stuff, that's only that will be the vast. The people who want to learn in depth will be like only like hardly 1 or 2%. So but I'm really confident with the math. Like if you just do the math again, let's say if you have like 10 lakh users or 1 million users, if you take 1% of it and just start charging like only 500 rupees, then only also you can make a lot of money with it.
Okay. Right. And you have to try something like
Yeah.
And okay, I guess
So
you
the nature, yeah, so
right,
I
right,
just
go
wanted
on.
to complete. The nature of what I'm doing is completely online. So,
Hmm.
I have to interact with a lot of people online itself. So far, what I've really made the project on Manasa, Black Marble itself, a
Yes.
lot of people have seemed to like it. Like,
Hmm.
they have found it to
I've
be
also tried that.
unique. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like that.
Right.
So that's one of the way itself. Yeah. And the reason to really make that was like to just set a base initial benchmark. Like, hey, it's for two purposes. Like for general audience to experience what Earth looks at the night.
Hmm.
Despite the Earth looks so big,
Hmm.
this is the tiny bits of dot that we live around here. And the second aspect is for like developers because it's really hard for any company to attract great talents. It's like,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to set out that this is the base level
Hmm.
execution that I've done here. This is the ultimate vision. We want to go here, and just because, just like everyone else, I'm too really blinded by my own ignorance. And in future, I will, if I happen to get the financial backing,
Hmm.
to hire the great talents. It's like that's the only reason I've done this thing.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the decision of you not pursuing BTech. How did you do that?
Okay, I think that's a very, I think if I really reflect right now, I had never this idea about like dropout because I never had this even fantasy to like be like someone else and all of this stuff. Like it was purely like I think 10th के बाद मैंने जब like JEE किया,
Hmm.
I know what the process of it like. It's extremely grinding. It's extremely crucial,
Hmm.
and I really enjoyed the process of learning physics. बट सीखना फिजिक्स और एमसीक्यू में मार्क्स लाना दोनों में जमीन आसमान का फर्क रहता है. सो आई रियली अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोसेस एंड लाइक सो यू नो दैट वाज मोस्ट वन ऑफ द डार्केस्ट टाइम एवर. एंड मुझे पता था कि लाइक मुझे ऐसा नहीं करना है. इट्स लाइक क्या. एंड ड्यूरिंग द गैप ऑफ लाइक फ्रॉम लाइक 10th लाइक 12th के बाद 6 महीने का गैप रहता है कॉलेज स्टार्ट होने के. सो आई हैव लर्न लाइक अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स एंड लाइक दैट हैव गिव मी द वाइडर पर्सपेक्टिव. So I continued learning till like first semester. I think yeah. So मुझे लगा कि like computer science लिया है सब कुछ ज्ञान मिलेगा बहुत सारा सब कुछ मिलेगा. So I after 3 months like 3 महीने तो सेटल होने में लग जाते. दोस्त कौन है, इसका चेहरा क्या है, इसका नाम क्या है, इसका नाम में भूल गया है, तुम्हारा नाम क्या था. It's like so it takes a time to really get it. After 3 months you start to see what this gloomy campus is all about. Just so I think the first experience of mine was like college का assignment. मुझे बिल्कुल पसंद नहीं था. Like I think I could have passed the examination just like for the sake of it, but I can't withstand the assignments of it. Like it doesn't have any meaning. It doesn't have to do with everything. It's like so I straight away refused to do it to my faculties. Like आप मेरे मार्क्स काट लो मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. It's like I mean what I would say is आप अपना assignment लिखो, मैं अपने marks गए तो भी मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. And they got very angry because no one had ever told them in that such a manner. Yeah. Right. So, but as the time passed, the friction between me and them started to increase. और first semester के बाद मैं library में जाके बैठता था क्योंकि वहाँ पे internet था. It's like the 200 Mbps connection. Like I was browsing anything like as per my curiosity guided me. So I was learning more than in the library itself what I was learning in the classroom. So also like before like they had just called me in the like the all of the teachers were sitting, all the faculties, HOD and all of that. और वो बोल रहे थे क्या करना है बताओ. So it's like and just had this inner voice like just quit the college, doing all of things. But yeah, so that's just exactly what I did. But I had this confidence like मैं भूखा पेट कभी नहीं भरूंगा. It's like yeah. So I think so far that now has been really like going good. Fortunately, like I've got a couple of offers, like even as a without degree and all of this stuff. But like so just because I have to really just focus more on the startup because that's more research based stuff is more intense. So that's why I don't focus on it. Even though मेरे नाना जी बहुत खुश नहीं इससे कि वो बोल रहे कि like हमारे गांव पे काम करती हुए लोगों को भी पैसे नहीं मिलता है और तुम्हें थाली परोस के भी मिल रहा है तभी तुम उसको like दूर फेंक रहे हो. It's very difficult for me to explain them what is the long term vision of it because they are not habitually used to it and I can understand from what perspective they are thinking about it.
अच्छा एक क्वेश्चन जो है कि now it's all gloomy. like कि तुमने drop out
yeah,
किया है, now you're pursuing what you want, है ना,
hmm,
and hopefully
hmm,
you will succeed in what you are doing. Okay,
yeah.
but इसका dark side क्या है? Have you felt like you were
Yeah, I
lacking
think
in learning?
there's a lot of dark side. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you have a question, let's complete that.
yeah. So I just want to know what the dark side in general. Let's go by
So I
that.
think the dark side in general is the dropout is for not person like those who are thinking like ये मुझे drop out करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए.
Hmm.
You know, it's not for the people. Like I had this clarity, like startup करना है. I think I did not had this clarity. Like I just want to build experiential at this time.
Huh.
But at the base level instinct, like some कुछ ना कुछ करना है. ये चीज सीखनी है, 3-4 चीज सीखनी है, and somehow we'll get past through it. Like but I think after dropping out of college, I really faced a lot of loneliness. Like घर पे बैठना, it's like and just to do things on your own. You can I just like पहले 2 महीने बहुत अच्छा लगा था.
Yeah.
हम सीखेंगे, सब कुछ करेंगे. Like तीसरे महीने से like I started to feel like like my progress really slowed down. So I think it's like I was sitting on the room, किसी से बात नहीं करना है, क्या नहीं करना है. And I think all of the people like हमने सब like कोविड में एक्सपीरियंस किया है कि हमने कहा था कि like वर्क फ्रॉम होम से प्रोडक्टिविटी बढ़ेगी, सब कुछ बढ़ेगा. घर बैठे तो पता चला कि like it's like the toll on mental pressure because you don't have to, there's no social element of interaction. So that's just happened. But luckily like in midst I think मैंने meetup.com पे search किया. I found out there's a lot of couple of events that is happening. So every month I used to go to meetup and like so I made so that really helped me to just bring my social interaction to the a social interaction element to the thing. But abhi baat karo to like I've kind of get used to it. It's like so if you can, even if you just sit me right ek kamre mein band kar diya, it's like if you do this thing I can do the thing for like 4 or 5 days, take a break, पांचवें दिन कुछ नहीं करना है. If you want to watch a movie, if you want to analyze something like ये इसका फिल्म कैसा है, इसलिए ये कौन सा कट लगा है, क्या लगा है, so you can try to analyze all these things. And since because my nature is like मेरा इंटरेस्ट बहुत ठिकाने, it's like बहुत जगह पे, it's like अभी Photoshop है, it's like यहाँ पे, so I don't get bored of anything. Like it's like I think for me it's my natural inclination seem to be very strong enough to guide me where it is. So, and one thing I also struggle to understand for other people is like I've seen most of my friends and even other senior who I've met, like they always seem to be confused, like what they don't really want, and like unfortunately they get stuck in that own like scenario itself, like so I think and some are fortunate enough to discover what they want, some don't, and they just kind of really like have the resentment in their own itself, and they just carry throughout their own life. So which is now this is kind of like philosophical take and all of that, it's my own personal bias that will
No, I understand. I also written a post on my Instagram where I talked about like I am a tinker, like you are, like I jump, I hop from one thing to another thing and try to explore that, because that's my nature, and that is exactly what I do. And I can't just think myself doing one thing for the whole life. Like if it doesn't connect me directly to my heart, I can't do it. Like business technology connects me directly, so I think I can understand what you're saying.
Yeah, and there's also the third aspect ki abhi 12th ke pehle like we are all in the surveillance of our parents, right? But right now suddenly we have all the freedom, and the freedom is like with that comes with a certain amount of responsibility, like and I think during like the 4 or 5 years जो transitioning phase hota hai, it's like you're from teenage to adult. Most of what I've really seen my friends is like they just want to have fun because they want to do all of the things, which is fine. Like if that's what you want to do, it's great for you, good for you. But I think I didn't enjoy it partying, I didn't enjoy it drinking all of this stuff together. I just enjoyed what my work is telling me, and that's just what I've done. Yeah.
Like so right now, I feel like I'm seeing a copy of myself. I think that's exactly what I feel like. I don't go anywhere. I just I find myself so
I think
focused on my
like,
room, doing everything.
Yeah. So like most people really just think they just are seeking the escapism and not the real thing. And
Right.
if you tell the truth, I mean, they would just easily get offended. It's like, yeah.
Right. Okay, so the same thing that I want to talk about is that uh, when I started my BTech,
Yeah.
like I decided that I will be focused on what I want to do. Like I
Yeah.
don't, so I only have one friend or couple of friends
Yeah.
in my college,
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
and
Same.
also I don't call many people, and they are
Yeah.
very annoyed, why don't you call me, है ना. तो
Yeah.
ऐसा सिनेरियो था जब मैंने बीटेक स्टार्ट किया, और तब से मैं यही करके आ रहा हूँ कंसिस्टेंटली. उसी वजह से मेरे को
Yeah.
एक अंदर से कॉलिंग भी आई कि हाँ यार, मुझे स्टार्टअप और बिजनेस की तरफ भी पढ़ना है, मुझे अच्छा लगता है सीखना
Yeah.
उसके बारे में.
Yeah.
मुझे मुझे कोडिंग ऐसे नहीं सीखनी है कि बस मेरे को जॉब चाहिए, नहीं,
Yeah.
है ना.
That's a
जॉब,
very good approach, I would say.
हाँ मुझे जॉब चाहिए, मिलेगी देखा जाएगा आखिरी में,
Yeah.
ठीक है.
Yeah.
मुझे अभी मज़ा आ रहा है, मेरे को
Yeah.
वेब डेवलपमेंट करने में मज़ा आ रहा है, मुझे क्रिएट करने में मज़ा आ रहा है, मुझे कम्युनिटी में बात करने में मज़ा आ रहा है लोगों से, ठीक है.
Yeah.
और कुछ प्रोजेक्ट्स भी मुझे मिले ऐसे जिसमें बस सर्टिफिकेट मिल जाएगा, एंड आई,
Okay.
और मैंने 2 दिन मेरा हालत ख़राब थी, मेरे को नहीं चाहिए था सर्टिफिकेट. मुझे नहीं
Okay.
चाहिए
Yeah.
सर्टिफिकेट.
Same. Like I don't get into it because उसमें कोई real substance नहीं होता. Like yeah.
हाँ तो
And I think even other person can see through it. Like yeah, ये certificate में कुछ रखा नहीं. It's like yeah.
वही.
So eventually you have to figure out like spending time with other person. Like it's just like dating. I would say it's like
Yeah.
you have to spend time with other person. Like
Right.
eventually both get to know each other. Like
Yeah. Okay, so the second question is, would you recommend someone to just leave BTech or whatever they are doing, just leave the degree and drop out?
बिल्कुल नहीं. बिल्कुल. It's like I've already answered that question. Like if you're not very clear about the first thing, it's like I think 90% लोगों को अभी self awareness नाम का component ही नहीं होता है. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. So if you're really confused right now what you're doing, what you're not, it's a very worst thing to do like for yourself. At least like अगर आप even if you don't like your job, let's say even if you graduated, आपको like placement में मिल गया, सब कुछ मिल गया. Even if you don't like the job, you still have something for you, like and you can take that as a base and start exploring on top of it, like what you really want and what do you not. But again, it's the point about like exploration. How much are you willing to do? Like, yeah. Some people I think I just found like a meme. I think there was a reel on Instagram which was really show that if you don't have a purpose, other people will find for you and all of this stuff. So basically, if you can trade, like other people's uncertainty, if you can give, if you can make other person really sure about his own future and all of that, he or she will kind of become mentally, you can almost mentally own them psychologically.
Right.
Like yeah. So if you can trade their uncertainty, they are too easily adopt your like fixed structure. That's really like the sad reality for like most people. Like yeah.
And I talked about the same thing, that the consciousness is very important. The self-awareness is very important. What you really want to do in life. Like it's not about कि आपने वो देखा मूवी और आपने छोड़ दिया कॉलेज और फिर गए आप, खत्म.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
अच्छा, self learning, let's talk about self learning because you did a lot and I also myself did that. So self learning के बारे में क्या है कि बहुत स्लो प्रोसेस होता है, बहुत कंसिस्टेंट प्रोसेस होता है, कि ऐसा होता है कि एक हफ्ते में मैं बहुत कुछ कर लूँगा, अब मेरे पास इतना समय है.
I think first of all, like in 2020 to 2021, I used to kind of read like one book a week in every topic that I like. It's like I just prefer more audiobook and all of this stuff. So, but I think the last year, like I read like almost like 3 or 5 books, but I spent most of the time like introspecting what really went behind the scene. So, like most of the time, like I like solving any problem. It takes a lot of I think research and troubleshooting all of this. So to really answer, like I think it's very sometimes on the theoretical level. If you spend enough time, like 1 or 2 weeks is sufficient to really understand anything on a conceptual level. Let's say if you want to learn about AI, there is like a lot of things you can start from AI. What is the basics thing of AI? Then you can see the basic math of it. like linear algebra, statistics, and like
Hmm.
calculus and all of this stuff. Then you can go to like deeper levels. So that's so which is the area that you want to focus on. So
Hmm.
again, it depends on like what the learning curve will depend on how deep do you want to go. So right now, what I've really focused most of the time is like I'm really in between. Like I'm not in beginner, not in advanced.
Right.
मुझे सब कुछ थोड़ा थोड़ा सब कुछ आता है. It's like
Hmm.
if you ask me for my current project right now,
Hmm.
I've just followed like like Blender Guru's series of donut series.
Right.
I just made one. मुझे उसके बाद में कुछ नहीं आता है. It's like I'm just enough capable to like uh, to know something, learn it in like 1 or 2 years. जितना मुझे चाहिए मुझे मैं इतना सीख लेता हूँ.
No.
So that's really like a kind of like broken approach, but so far has been it's been work for me. But again, just like what I previously mentioned, it depends on inclination and how do you perceive and how do you understand the things. So हर एक के लिए अलग अलग रहता है. So but what I really understood about mine is I think 1 or 2 week for each individual topic is enough for me to really understand it on like level 2 or 300 level.
नहीं सेम मेरे को भी यही हुआ है कि जब मैं कहता हूँ ना कि आई नो फुल स्टैक सो आई
Yeah.
डोंट नो फुल स्टैक फुली
Yeah.
आई नो बिट्स ऑफ इट
Yeah.
लाइक आई हैव इंटरमीडिएट नॉलेज इन रिएक्ट अगर मेरे को रिएक्ट का
Yeah.
बनाने दिया जाएगा मैं कोड कर लेता हूँ आराम से
Yeah.
अब मेरे को
Yeah.
बैकएंड बनाने के दिया जाएगा मैं कोड कर लूंगा बट इफ यू आर जस्ट
Yeah.
गोइंग टू डिग डीप कि अब यार वो कॉन्सेप्ट क्या क्या होता है सो
Yeah. Yeah.
आई हैव टू चेक
Exactly.
अप लाइक इट्स अ कॉन्टिन्यूस
Yeah.
प्रोसेस और मेरा
Yeah.
इंटरेस्ट
Yeah.
है सो इट विल टेक टाइम लाइक ऐसा नहीं है कि
Yeah.
फुल स्टैक डेवलपर मैंने लिख दिया तो अब सब आता होगा इसको
Yeah. Yeah.
है ना
Yeah.
तो हाँ
Yeah.
आई गेट
Yeah.
इट सेम अप्रोच है ओके सो आई didn't do open source okay I wanted to
Yeah.
do open source for a longer period of
Yeah.
time like I took
Yeah.
1 or 2 years figuring out yeah let's do it because when you see videos on YouTube and they say open source करो ठीक है
Yeah. Yeah.
फायदा
Yeah. I
मिलेगा
think. Yeah. Yeah.
ठीक है और when
Yeah.
you are in software development industry like you want to get into the software development industry है ना तो आप
Yeah.
चाहते हो सब कर लो इन ये जो कह रहे हैं वो सब कर लो ठीक है तो
Yeah.
मेरे से ओपन सोर्स नहीं हुआ बिकॉज मेरे को ऐसा लगता था कि यार अब मैं पूरा कोड समझूं जो मेरा पता नहीं इंटरेस्ट है कि
Yeah.
नहीं इस प्रोजेक्ट में लेकिन मेरे को
Yeah. Yeah.
पता भी नहीं है लेकिन बस मेरे को यहाँ पता चला कि यहाँ
Yeah.
रिएक्ट यूज हो रहा है सो लेट्स कंट्रीब्यूट इट इन ओके
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
didn't do open source but what's your take on open source have you tried it or what you think about that
I think I don't know if like making YouTube tutorial really counts as open source or not.
right
But I think I've not done it. Like, but I think first of all, like to all like in general, like don't fall for this clickbait trap. It's a very short form. Like it's really it's like Instagram reels. Like short term made click milta hai.
yeah
You get kind of like misillusioned or misguided, thinking about this is how the world works. But that's not how things really actually work. Open source tabi karo, you know what this thing really actually is. You're just
Right.
getting started with React.
right
You have made like 1 or 2 application. It's not like it's not even a minimum qualification to really get started with open source. If you know like if you want to just get started with like let's say networking stuff and all of that, so you need to know how to rewrite a kernel level stuff. You need to like how to write a base like from like start scratch from fundamental. If you're just working on the application layer, API layers, that's not a very proper way of like
right
I think getting into open source. Although there are various roles in open source, like maintaining documentation, like coordinating and all of this stuff. That's also the part of it. That's if you're liking it, then you can try to just kind of get into those areas. But as for like pure applied coding, like have a knowledge, have something like that's really worthwhile investing, like and then it's much better for the maintainer for the open source that this is the guy or girl which is credible. Let's trust them. It's like
and I think
and
it's also
having
yeah go on
yeah and having that kind of talent really also really just kind of pays you really well enough.
Right.
If you have that kind of certain skills which only very few people have, you can get paid massively.
Right. So I think it also depends upon the interest because my interest is in creating product. So when I am creating my product, I do coding like a maniac. ठीक है रात भर कर रहे हैं मेरे को पता नहीं है ना मजा आ रहा है ठीक है लेकिन जब मैं किसी मतलब ऐसे जान मूझ के किसी के जैसे ओपन सोर्स में कुछ करना ही है तो आई कुडंट डू ठीक है,
Yeah.
because it's hard for me to just go and code, वो
Hmm.
connect नहीं होता है. So it's also about
Hmm.
the interest where you are
Hmm.
inclined, right?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's exactly just I was about to mention that. Like, सबसे पहले interest,
Yeah.
self-awareness, self-reflection, then other things really comes. Like that's the second priority itself. It's like, yeah. So, but people लोग उल्टा करते हैं पहले. It's like, yeah,
कि
yeah,
पहले कोडिंग करते हैं, पहले जॉब
yeah,
लेते
yeah,
हैं,
yeah,
फिर
yeah,
देखेंगे.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, that's
Okay, so the next question is, what do you think about the coding environment in India? What's going on about the awareness?
I think it's what I've seen right now. There is a lot of good products that are emerging out of our countries. It's like, right from application to like, base level, like kernel drivers and all of this stuff. I think if you look at Microsoft Hyderabad office, I've really heard something like Windows के जो core products है, maintaining and all of this stuff, they are starting to happening in India as well. So let's take for example Zerodha and all of that stuff. Like, it's a fantastic like tech stack. Only 35 people are managing it. So it's like, yeah, it's that's also from India. So I think since like because everything is now open, so it's like we are in a position to really just capitalize on it. Like I think I would see more and more software, more and more polished and like top level software, like will be written in India.
Right.
So the only thing that I'm really just want right now is like semiconductor design, fab designing, all of this stuff that should be also done in India. That's more like capital intensive business. So we are more in the transitioning phase right now. So like this, we are right now in software, but soon I would really assume that in next 15 to 20 years we'll also start designing our own chips.
And I think now what India needs right now is to transition from people who are working in software development is to transition from as a worker to a creator. Now we really need to create something out of India, because what we are famous of is doing jobs in America.
Yeah, I think that's what Kural Shah's call as like status seeking behavior.
Right.
It's like I mean status. We don't want self actualizations and all of this stuff. But again, I think it's my own ignorance to like label everyone as startup, because some of them generally go outside to really pursuit for better life. And if they are getting better package and all of this stuff, like I mean, it's good for you.
Totally agree.
It's your personal liberty, I would say.
But I think there's so much potential.
But yeah, I think so much potential. Like just like I was listening to Hitesh Chaudhary, which is like he has his own YouTube channel. The guy in Bangalore gets more paid than US engineer,
right.
US tech engineer. So the demand for good engineers is always they'll always be there. So it's like you don't worry about Chatgpt, you don't worry about any AI book.
Yes.
Just focus on your work and you just focus on upskilling. There'll always be demand. That's
And okay, just let's talk about Chatgpt. What do you think?
I think it's a great tool. Like even I was also really using it for my own project. Like tell me like how to like scroll jack the website and all this stuff. How to manipulate the default scroll behavior of the website. So I was really looking at it. It's not perfect. It gives you basic answer. It gives you hint. You take that hint and then you research it. So that is what I would really say that that is the like time saving aspect. Like you just see it, you just do it. So it really helps you at least to give a basic suggestions and keywords. Now it's up to you. Like how do you really proceed? Do you want as it is from it? You will be disappointed. Like, if you just want an assistant, then it's a great tool, I would say.
Yeah.
And like now it's like that now that Microsoft has partnered with OpenAI and it's been really integrated in Bing. See, that's a huge thing, I would say.
I think what I say about ChatGPT is that it's a refined Google search. So
but the problem with only the problem that I see is you don't get any resource. Like you don't get any links. Like Reddit is there, the people's opinion is there, and that's the main reason like why Stack Overflow has banned the ChatGPT answers.
So the next question that I want to ask you is about Web3. Just explain me in a layman term, because I really don't have that much knowledge of Web3, what it is and how it's gonna come up in the near future.
think particularly like I'm really skeptical about Web3
Right.
because of its like I think the basic idea of like I think the current web really works in a way that there is like giant like centralized servers which is
Hmm.
like storing and really serving you, and it's like the problem really the Web3 community or Web3 enthusiasts really says that hey, these company have too much power and we just don't want to really rely on it.
Hmm.
So what they are really coming up with a solution is just have like a decentralized system, basically like peer-to-peer communications,
Hmm.
and it facilitated all those things. There's no middleman. You
Hmm.
can directly send, you can directly communicate all of this stuff. But indirect, but if you really see the like core architecture about how the internet really works,
Hmm.
and if you really see the claim, if you want to do the like Bitcoin mining, let's say, as decentralized as it can get,
Hmm.
but the Bitcoin is still being like managed by a few of the handful miners in the world,
Right.
because the kind of like hash rate that you need to
Hmm.
really like work there to really make Bitcoin really work right now,
Hmm.
what it's doing right now, we just can't do it on our own individual level, right?
Hmm.
So, and it's been always proven that whether it's in tech, whether it's like or it's in anything nature, it will always the energy will always flow in like linearly. So what that really means is like least resistance and the most effective way. So right now the all the transactions or all the calculations are going through all of these miners which have like big
Hmm.
giant rigged data centers and all that, because they're generally more efficient.
Right.
And what really happens is right now, since they are really more efficient, they have more hash rate, they can make more money, and then now they can make more into data centers in future. So the problem right now we are having right now is the same with Web3. It's just continuously it's like the what we say is like the decentral approach is very, I would say, uh, computationally intensive.
Hmm.
It's not like you can't just match the like transaction rate of Visa and Mastercard.
Hmm.
I think that is a very difficult problem to crack. And although some people would say like proof of stake, proof of work, but that's still just as similar as just like having Google data centers like across all the globe, like one is in
Hmm.
Asia, one is in Mumbai,
Hmm.
one is in like Singapore and US and all this stuff. You just have like think there is particular distinguishing like there's a very thin line between like distributed and decentralized system.
Right.
Decentralized system is basically like distributed ones,
Hmm.
but I think everyone gets to contribute itself.
Hmm.
So I think if AWS comes tomorrow and let's say, hey, you can also hook up your machine and we'll give you the incentive to do that.
Hmm.
But I think, but even if AWS will give us money,
Hmm.
that would not be huge. Like like कोई 10-12 रुपए के लिए इतना करेगा सब कुछ.
No.
So again, the power will always concentrate to
Hmm.
those who are doing things on more hyper scale.
Hmm.
Like more, naturally they will be more efficient and they will be incentivized. So the concept of like the thing being decentralized,
Hmm.
I don't think that's ever going. We are going anywhere else. So I think the middle approach that I can really see is like open sourcing all the tech stack.
Yeah.
That's also what I'm thinking about my own startup right now, because
Hmm.
it's like uh, you write all the code, you deploy all of your backend, you deploy all of the stuff except for the development API, because no one wants to kind of
Right.
expose it out to the public. Once everything is deployed, once everything is security check, if you have GitLab for like your own personal CI/CD tool, GitHub for like contributing, sharing code and all for transparency and all of that.
Hmm.
What you do is you have the source code right now. You take it to you have to like share. Now once your code is in production, the GitLab, all of this stuff, take that same source code and give it out to the public.
Hmm.
That's because ultimately what we want is trust, like how
Hmm.
this company has been working and how it's not. So let's say even if one person say like yeah ये क्या है, it's like ये तो कुछ भी लिख सकता है,
Yeah.
production में कुछ भी लिख सकता है, yeah.
Hmm.
So to really answer that question is what we can do is we can have like active schedule to really upload what is going on, what is not.
Hmm.
So let's say take for example Blender, like that's one of my most favorite open source like software, I would say. It's like and it's as good as like Autodesk, Maya and all of this, which are like $5,000 software itself. Like it's like mind-boggling that Blend is completely free. So and the journey behind is also like like it's very inspiring, I would say. So you can try to have that approach. Like a lot of people have done this in the past. So I think, but yeah, Web3 is just a promise to give you an illusion that hey, this is a decentralized. I would even bet, I would even argue that OpenSeas, which really works on like like the wallet. What was the wallet's name? I've just forgotten.
What wallet?
Wallet name, like that's a fox icon. Like yeah, what's that? MetaMask. Yeah, MetaMask.
Okay.
It's like yeah, so that's I think forgive me if I'm really spelling it wrong. Even that architecture is pretty like centralized. You need to set up a lot of like big infrastructure and all of that stuff. Like Web3 was supposed to be like lean, mean, clean. Like everybody's peer-to-peer file sharing. The closest, the closest like Web3 is what we have is like right now is torrent, BitTorrent. And even those things that we have like tracker servers just to keep track of all the like DHTs and all of the node itself. So yeah, so even in that stuff we need something a middleman to facilitate all the transactions. So I don't think it's like Web3 can be truly decentralized. There'll always be middleman whom we need to connect with, and thus that server can connect with the other person, and then it can really facilitate that. That's how the WebRTC actually works. Like it's like my client is now connected to WebRT server. Your client is now connected to WebRT server. Hey, the server knows both other each IP, so let's send the details. Now we can do the communication, tunneling itself. So that's how it is now. The torrent already existed. I don't know for what reason. Like Web3 decided to like launch like it's like it's something called like this is like protocol torrent. So I'm just forgetting the name. I think if like, editing itself, you can just put it up right here. I'll just send you right there. That's the name they have put. If you look at architecture, that's essentially the same as what torrent really does. In fact, they would really say that hey, it has more Git-like features and all this stuff. But if I look into specification, it doesn't do anything more than torrent itself. Like so, I'm actually more skeptical about like how this is going to fundamentally change, because the change will only happen if the newer solution will be like at least twice the magnitude better than the existing ones. And I don't think the Web3 is ever going to study the architecture of Web3. That's what I've came to the conclusion right there.
I think, but if you see the reality, the fact that if the engineers who are getting into the crypto and things, they are getting highly paid. Do you agree or not?
I mean, it's like how VC works. It's like जहाँ पे VC का पैसा चलता है, it's like I think if you can have a VC backing on you, there's no amount of like it's just ultimately the company's decision. Like if they got a VC backing or not. Once they have the backing of VC, then they can throw as much money as they want.
But why are they putting up so much money in Web3? Why? What do you think?
I think if you study the financial, like it's about all of the. I think that's very complicated stuff. Like to really explain. Like
is there any hope that it will change and it will become better than already existing things?
So fundamentally, VCs want to earn more money.
Right.
That's the first thing. Like even the stock manipulation, if you really see the most of the cases, in every financial scam that has been done in the world has been happening in the boardroom. So if you really see, like VCs want to earn more money. So what they do is they approach a startup like cryptocurrency. Let's say I made a token called Tarang token, and now I say this is the world's greatest revolution. I just made a PR of it, right? Hopefully, like to get eventually all the people buying it, right?
Right.
And I say this is the most decentralized currency ever. But I don't reveal their thing that 40% of the tokens have been held by my investors. 10% is what I own. And like and rest people are like hoping that this is the most revolutionary thing. And the minute the price like goes to like up to $100, investors like sell everything, cash it, and just go out, right? So it's a very quick way of earning money. They don't care about retail investors. Like I would be really honest. So if you study about the financial, how it works, it's like I would say it's a very complex topic, and even like I would not go into the depth.
It's not directly connected to what's going on into Web3 technology, It's just financial way of thinking about it.
I think there's always a financial incentive about it. Like
Hmm.
I think A16Z has been really like most prolific investors in Web3 and all of this stuff.
Hmm.
But even if you see that even if you see that's like their interviews about why they have really invested into this Web3, they
Hmm.
would really find giving a vague answer, which is not very appropriate itself. Like and the most thing is like हमारे पास $1 billion पैसा है,
Hmm.
and they are be getting taxed. Inflation is 6%.
Hmm.
Like in US now, it's been like 8-9%, something like that. यार हमने इसके पैसे को अगर 12-13% से पैसे कमाए नहीं,
Hmm.
this money has no value. Like
Hmm.
since 1971, like since we have like lifted out of gold standard,
Hmm.
money is worthless. Like the
Hmm.
whole financial system is it's been flawed. Like I would say, so so the ultimate aim is to like earn quick money as possible as you can.
Hmm.
There's like NFT trend. Now there's
Yeah.
like AI trend. It's in the future there would be some different trend as well. Like that will really happen. So it's like it's basically riding off the people's insecurity and like uncertainty to just kind of do that. So that has happened before. That will continue to happen like afterwards.
Yeah, and I also got to know that they are also creating like virtual place to buy land, right? They create a software where you can just buy that land virtually. That will be
I
yours,
think I have a really like I've also heard about like Earth 2. It's
right?
something like that. It's exactly what you're mentioning. I mean, there are like it's a so I think I mean you can try to buy it, but like it's ultimately like the meaning lies the beholder of like who's owning it.
Hmm.
It's basically like in an abstract art, like because I'm like totally idiot. I don't understand why people really spend so much money in art, but like
Hmm.
the other people really see that this is beautiful art. This is the best everything I've ever seen. Like so much of effort. Even if like it's like even if that really means like sticking a banana on a wall with duct tape.
Yeah.
I mean that's it's hilarious what's going on in the market.
I
Like
think
it's
like
basically it,
if you look at the PUBG trend, like
yeah
which was going around a couple of years ago, like it's still
yeah
going, but at that time it was at peak, right?
yeah
So I think this is the same thing. Like they are creating a virtual place where bunch
yeah
of
yeah yeah
people will be involved constantly. So they just
yeah
want to
yeah yeah.
create a hook, just
Yeah.
new hooks,
So yeah, ultimately it comes down to like psychology of human,
right?
like how we are behaving. It's if you can hack the people's brain, like I mean, it's not difficult to earn money. Like I would
Hmm.
say, it's like yeah,
Right, absolutely.
you just have to do it on scale. But I think I think it's better to earn money with good terms rather than just fooling people and all of this stuff. Like yeah,
Hmm.
to hoping with the long term because eventually in short term with this VC funded startup, you will make money. Like founders will also make money, but like does that add any value? Like long term, like let's take for example Zoho and
Hmm.
Zerodha.
Hmm.
Like eventually every startup that you see just fails in comparison to both of these.
Hmm.
So that's a long lasting thing that you ever want to have. Like it's like if I think I've gone to like multiple events and all this stuff, and like especially in entrepreneur like meetup, I always get turned off like by this so-called seasoned investor like
Right.
3 साल startup बनाया exit मारा फिर
Hmm.
से 3 startup बनाया exit मारा.
Hmm.
The goal is pretty self-evident, like they are just come here to make money. They
Hmm.
don't have anything to work on like long term, and
Hmm.
sometimes like people really get enamored by इसके पास पैसा. It's like yeah,
Hmm.
but sometimes I can just happen to see through it. Like that's just not what I really want personally.
That
Again, it comes to the point about what you want.
and
Yeah,
if you are
so,
doing
yeah,
that thing, like it's same to doing a job. Like you are
yeah,
hopping
yeah.
to
I
one
mean,
thing
yeah,
to
exactly.
another thing.
You just said it more better than what I have
Yes.
said. Like, yeah, yeah,
Amazing. So, as I got to know that you are into entrepreneurship and startups also. So, just
yeah.
tell me what are the trends in which people can start their startup right now in India? What do you think?
So I think I personally believe that there is blue ocean in everywhere.
Okay.
You just have to look at everything. You just have to look in a particular direction. Now, obviously, the size of blue ocean may not be the same
Hmm.
because you have to focus on things.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example of it. Like, let's say, if you have watched this series called Insiders, that is like Business Insider has there's a YouTube channel.
Right.
They release on like a series called like businesses that's going extinct.
Absolutely.
Basically because that has been replaced by all of these things like modern machines and all this stuff.
Hmm.
But still, like people are thinking that hey, हमें हमारी बिरादरी से मिला है,
Hmm.
हमें ये बनाना है. It's like, and that's all the things.
Hmm.
So eventually, what they happen is right now because people are getting aware of this thing, like these are the handicraft products. These are more authentic, I would say.
Hmm.
These are also more consumer friendly products. Yesterday, I was just watching from like from I think it was from West Africa.
Hmm.
That person was making dyes from like natural substances.
Okay.
And his product, actually his cloth was worn in Hollywood movies.
Hmm.
So that's also the trend that you can see up, right? That has been rising. So you have to find out, like if there's always a thing, like like chick shampoo.
Hmm.
If you want to make 1 crore rupees, sell, like you can either take like 1 crore rupees from one person, or you can just earn like 1 rupees from 1 crore people. So that's you have to balance that equation. It's like, yeah. So, but yeah, again, like so that's just so what I wanted to say. This, you can try to do everything you can build, like because internet has just made it, the world is more open as
Right.
it can be. Yeah.
And what do you think? Making copies of business like Flipkart kind of made the copy of Amazon. Like for example, it's the
Yeah.
journey is similar. Like they've started selling
Yeah.
books, and then they
Yeah.
are
Yeah. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
the same
Yeah.
thing as Amazon did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is it fruitful right now to just copy the same business, because they will have a great proportion of audience to come there.
Yeah. I think it's always better for the end consumer
Right.
to have multiple options.
Hmm.
Like but as for like like for people interested getting in startups, there'll always be competition. Like if you start creating something new, even I might let's say, even I might really assume that there won't be competition for me. That hey, this is something space related startup. Let's try to do something else. So because even in India right now, the startup idea, these ideas are not patented at all.
Hmm.
So I would say it's always better to have competition. Like I would say,
Yeah.
because it always helps us to innovate. Like doesn't get more arrogant. It helps to keep a ground reality check and all of that stuff. But to give an answer about it, copy. I mean, it's come to the same point. Like if you really see the story of Flipkart, it's been like it's a circus of VCs basically.
Right.
Like the whole if you see the journey of it, like all the politics, all the gambling stuff that has been happened, you can clearly see that Flipkart's goal was ultimately to make money for themselves and the investors.
Hmm.
That's the whole journey of Flipkart. And now, I think, but so far, like even what we can see right now is like Amazon पे product ज़्यादा मिलते, like it's if you want to buy stuff like customer reviews are Amazon great. So it ultimately comes down to the point like even if your competitions are there, like what are you doing to improve your service and to really scale things more better?
Right. Okay, so the last section. Okay, so I am going to ask you कि
Yeah.
audiobooks सुनते हो तुम, ठीक है? So
Yeah.
what are those audiobooks that you want to recommend
Yeah.
to all the audience that are listening and the people who are watching?
Okay, so one of the, I think it's like, I think one of my favorite author is like Robert Greene. He has like basically has spent like last 30 years in like researching about human natures and all this stuff.
Right.
So one of my book that I would suggest for general audience to find their own meaning and purpose is like mastery. But apart from it, like there's book called like like 48 Laws of Power and Art of Seduction, which basically it's not a beginner friendly book, I would say. If you're just getting started, that's a very heavy book. Like you have to read like 4-5 books to get the momentum to read like 600 pages to really just kind of go through it. Basically, all the self-help books tells you like how the world is looping, how the world is like, so gloomy in the sense how the world is beautiful, how can we be nice, like, how to make friends and influence people. This is the exact opposite side of it. It talks about the dark psychology of human nature. This is the human. We are animals. Here's what the history tells us, and it has given a brilliant examples of it. Like, so basically, all six Robert Greene books, I would say, but these are the top three, and I would in general, and for other topics it depends on, like, various other things.
Okay.
So they say, for science it may be different. For like it's all of this stuff, I would say.
Right. Okay. Last two questions. The
Yeah,
first
sure.
question is that I've never been to like meetups and things like
Yeah,
that, but you've been to
yeah,
all those meetups.
yeah,
How do you
yeah.
think, are there people who are interested to work voluntarily without thinking about money? Like,
I mean, yeah. I mean, what I've seen right now is it's the meetup that I work. It's like, about AWS itself and all of the stuff. Apart from my online interactions, like, they have been very kind to me. Like, it's like one of the leaders I've just mentioned it in my LinkedIn post itself. Like, he has been really mentioned. He has been helping me in numerous ways. Like, to do all sorts of things, to really get the freelance opportunities, training. Like, I've given one or two training instances. So he has really bought me all these gigs to work on. So again, with that incentive, I think it depends on I would say, um, how big is the meetup scenario. So you're living in, so where you do live right now?
I live in Kanpur.
Yeah. So I would assume that the Kanpur is not really much more meetup
Yes,
culture
yes,
is
yes.
not more there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in Pune right now, because everything is software, everything has been now, it's been really, we are really mostly connected with to the
Right.
service company, which are like, most of the foreign companies are Pune itself. So there's kind of the base level culture that has been there. So right now everyone comes, software is there. So eventually people see the success, like, there's been consistency from the organizer itself and all of this stuff. People are indeed ready to volunteer itself. Like, that's what I've seen up right there. So I'll give you an example of it. Just because in our like AWS, I think, group itself, in the last year, I think there were only like, I would say, at best 50 to 60 people were coming. Like, but after this, the grabbing that happened, like after in Hayat Pune, right now it's like, there's like 150, 200, 300 people coming at the free event a Saturday. So there is like, we have right now like 15, 16 people who are volunteering.
Right.
Free of cost, there's nothing else. So once there's like, aspect of it, like, the social aspect of it, and there is not direct financial incentive about it, but indirect benefits are
Right, right,
enormous, I would
absolutely.
say.
For a longer period of
So
time.
yeah, let's say if your employer is looking like, hey, this person is doing this kind of thing, this is another thing. So it's basically helps to market themselves properly. So that's the indirect benefit of it, I would say.
Okay, absolutely. And the second question is, how content creation helped you in your life?
I think it's about like, it's like, I would say, good question. Like, I think, I started to really make YouTube videos just because, I was lonely. I had
Yeah.
something in my mind. I had to clear up the things, which that's why I just like post all this my own random thoughts on Twitter as well as all of the stuff areas. But I think in mid 2020 or 2021, I happened to see this video by, like, Wakas Kazi. He's basically, he makes a content on like color grading DaVinci Resolve. And the first tutorial that I saw, like, how to use the colors to really just change the mood of an aspect. First of all, I used to see like movies purely for entertainment or for like learning perspective. But after watching the tutorial, like, wow, that's now I thought like, yeah, this is the aspect, this is the, like, what goes into making the film.
Right.
And after that, I just started to watch the film, like, in a complete different view. Like, this is the lighting, this is the view. In the second instance for like Johnny Harris, his editing style just like, forced me to like learn something else. And although like, I think I would say my editing is now right now mediocre. It's like I will just want to improve it like drastically. It's what I've been done my previous UPI video.
Right.
I think so. These were like two influence that helped me to just to open my eyes to editing, content creation, all this stuff, and eventually that the process of learning more, like how to do it, what's the other people thinking of this attention metrics. Although I don't focus more on attention, because for me the storytelling and the art form is more important than all of this technical stuff up right here. But eventually in this process I got to learn more about the things. So you have to make a video about it, you have to learn something, you have to come up with a topic. So starting the research, scripting, recording, and then editing, and the final upload. So this has really accelerated my learning curve, I would say,
Right.
learning process.
Okay. Thank you for doing this, Rahul.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
hope to see you in more episodes like this
yeah, sure,
and
sure.
to learn more
Yeah,
from you.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
amazing. Like मेरे को तो
yeah,
इतना कुछ new जानने को मिला because
yeah,
if yeah it is very true that when you are doing any degree, when you are pursuing any degree, you just get into that nutshell. है ना? तो I got to know that it's very helpful to know that you are doing so many things and you're learning so much in your life, and I will do the same. Like I will improve
yeah,
myself. Thanks
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Hope to see this episode soon on YouTube. Yeah,
Take care.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Bye.